So tonight is the grand opening next door, so that music can hear. It used to be Bourbon Street, if you're familiar with it. We used to come here on Saturday nights and go up on the deck, and we could look at the drag queen show that Bourbon Street used to have next door. But that's no more, it's Parks and Rec. And I think they were saying at 9 p.m. they're going to have a open to the public. So. Okay, so welcome to our first Kickstarter Pitchfest. The only thing we ask is during the pitches, no video or recording. If you want to take any photos, just talk to the entrepreneur, the inventor, just to make sure, because there are some things that patents are in progress. So, no questions on that. So if you've never been to Third Space before, Third Space is a co-working location for the creative. We have people here that are, I like to say, people write. They either write code, or they write prose, or they're artists. It's definitely for the creative. And Peter, who has the yellow lab, he just went next door, is the owner. So if you got some questions about joining Kickstarter, or working or attending the Inventors Club, talk to Peter, since he's the owner here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just talk about what we learned at this meetup. We started this about almost a year and a half ago, and it started off as a monthly Kickstarter meetup where we bring in inventors or entrepreneurs who are interested in Kickstarter. We share their stories, and then from there we spun out a weekly Inventors Club that is for people who are actively getting ready to launch something. Every Wednesday they come here, they meet for a couple hours and collaborate on things related to inventions. So Kickstarter isn't the only crowdsourcing platform. If you're not familiar with Kickstarter, as a lot of you'd be surprised, a lot of your customers aren't. It's one we focus on here, but it is not the only one. Okay, so Kickstarter started a few years ago. It's a platform for crowdfunding. The top 4 Kickstarter projects I have right here are interesting. Pebble has the first and third. Like Pebble Time recently raised, what was it? 23 million, I think. Coolest Cooler raised 13. Original Pebble raised 10. And the number 4, which I never heard of or never really worked with, was the Exploding Kittens card game. And that raised 8 million. Anyone ever play with the Exploding Kittens? Yeah? Okay. They're real. Some interesting Kickstarter projects. The Potato Salad Kickstarter. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that. It's $55,000. Their goal was $10, and they were making potato salad. So it got a lot of attention because it was rather unique. Some of the weird things the rewards would be was you would make a video of him making potato salad and shout out your name, something like that. So $55,000 for potato salad. Here's a couple of things we've learned, and this is in no particular order. I'll just shout them out. We put them into a blog so you can refer to them later. But you need to manage your expectations of your customer, and sometimes that means explaining to them real briefly in your Kickstarter project what Kickstarter is. I mean, people think it's another e-commerce site. They think they just buy it now and it'll ship tomorrow, not realizing that they're pre-buying something that may or may not be shipped. So that sometimes helps. The video is key. The video is where that's what people are going to pledge based on. We found that about 3 minutes works for the video. We start off with, this is the problem, this is our solution, and this is why our team can pull it off. Okay, here's a couple just random thoughts on Kickstarter projects. A few minutes before your Kickstarter ends, you gotta recognize that when your Kickstarter project is over, when the deadline is reached, that it is frozen in time. You can't go in and do much editing on it. So perhaps if it looks like you reach your goal, a few minutes, yes, I'm sorry. You can edit, can you fully edit? I know you can put a banner on the top. Okay, great. So that gets into another rule, which is Kickstarter is constantly changing. Which is actually on my list here, right? You can say in the past, the Kickstarter project would be frozen in time. And so if you were smart, you had an e-commerce site already set up. Kickstarter gets a lot of SEO juice. So when people are searching for you, they can find a Kickstarter project from years ago. So what we're recommending beforehand is when it freezes, just before it freezes, you put a link to where you're selling your product. And the idea is that you would still sell your product to someone who didn't pledge, but they would pay more money and they would get it later, because you want to benefit your customers. Know your rules. Know the Kickstarter rules. There are only 3 rules, and they're fairly basic, but things like you can't raise money and for charities. You need to have a real prototype. You can't use photorealistic photos. You can't use photorealistic images. People are right to say that. Let's see. Rules change. Oh, here's the thing. Don't be afraid that you only have one chance at Kickstarter. We've seen a number of people on this stage do a Kickstarter, fail, come back, and succeed because they applied what they learned. So that's the key. If you're an entrepreneur, failure never stops you anyway, so I don't need to say that. And 2 other things. Investors, venture capitalists are looking at Kickstarter projects because it's a key point of validation. So rather than investing money in a company that doesn't have a product yet, you can see how much traction on a Kickstarter project that item has received. So some people use Kickstarter not just to launch a project, but to launch an actual company. So that's something to consider. On the flip side, you can just do a project and move on, right? You don't have to have the $30 million business come out of it. And let's see, finally, if you've done a Kickstarter, whether you've succeeded or failed, raise your hand, right? Because I want the other people here who are considering doing it to see these people whose hands are up. When we take a break and go to networking, you can get some advice from them. So, oh, and with that said, people have been coming to me saying, "Oh, you need to." I'm Joe Marino, by the way. People have been saying, "You need to go talk to Joe." I've never done a Kickstarter project, right? I have just been coordinating this. So anyone who's done a Kickstarter project will know a lot more real-world experience than I am telling you here in theory. So, all right. So here's what we're gonna do tonight. We're gonna have 9 pitches. Right? Some will be video. Some will be just people talking you through the pitch, or a combination of the 2. Right? They'll be about 4 minutes long, and we're going to do 1 minute of just follow-up Q&A that I will manage. And then we're going to take a 15-minute intermission and then do it for the last few. So there's a total of 9. So does anyone have any questions on anything I said before we get started? Yeah. Oh, question? Yeah, go ahead.
How was Amazon playing the Kickstarter?
Amazon?
Yeah.
So Amazon payments used to be how your payments were cleared. Is that what you're wondering?
That is, once it's funded, doesn't it have to go on Amazon for sale?
I'm sorry.
I thought it had to go on Amazon for sale once it's funded.
Oh, no, it doesn't. Right? You can sell it however you would like. Amazon payments used to be how you got your money. So let's say you've reached your goal. It might have been about 2 weeks until you got your money through Amazon payments. I forget what payment processor they moved to now. Do you know? Stripe? Okay, with Stripe. Stripe's a well-known, they have a great API. Any developers nowadays who are shoestring coding up an e-commerce website probably will start with Stripe. So they use Stripe to clear the payments. So you gotta remember, Kickstarter takes what percent of your 5%, and then your payment processor, probably 3. So that's 8% off the top. Right? So these are things as an entrepreneur you need to work into your business plan. Now don't forget that if you need $10,000 or $100,000 for your project, if you raise that money, a consideration is how do you account for that tax-wise? Like, is it regular income? You know, just remember that there's still taxes. So when you're trying to figure out how much to raise, I would strongly suggest that you figure out how much it would cost if you had to pay someone to do all that work you're doing for free. Because if your project explodes in a good way, if it blows up, you're going to need to pay people that. And you don't want to be losing money on every transaction. Like the old adage, we lose money on every transaction, but we make it up in volume. Anyway, that's a long-winded you do not need to offer it on Amazon. Any other questions? Okay, so first up we have the surf bucket. Michael.
All right,
Let's
ready?
get surf.